For years, I believed a lie. I thought that to be seen as valuable, a woman had to prove herself. Work harder, speak louder, do more than everyone else. But then I started watching women who truly commanded respect. Women with that rare, expensive energy. And I noticed something surprising. They weren't doing more. They were doing less. But they were doing it with absolute intention. Here's the thing most people don't understand about presence. We live in a world that constantly tells women to do more, speak louder, work harder, prove yourself, show them you're worth it, compete, compare, chase. And yet, the women who truly command respect, the ones who walk into any space and seem to own it without saying a single word, they're not doing more, they're doing less. But they're doing it with intention. See, this isn't really about aura at all. Not really. This is about something much deeper. This is about how you see yourself when no one else is watching. Because here's what I've come to believe. The way you carry yourself is a direct reflection of what you believe you deserve. If you believe you deserve respect, you don't beg for it. You don't argue for it. You simply live in a way that makes disrespect feel out of place around you. If you believe your time is valuable, you don't waste it on people who don't honor it. You don't explain yourself to those who've already decided not to understand. If you believe you are worthy of love, real love, you stop accepting crumbs and calling them blessings. That's what this is really about. This is about women remembering who they are. Women who have been through life, through heartbreak, maybe, through disappointments, through seasons that tested everything they thought they knew about themselves. And now, on the other side of all that, they're asking themselves, who do I want to become from here? Whether you're 32 or 45, whether you're married, single, divorced, or rebuilding, whether you're raising children or building a career or both. This matters because the energy you carry affects everything. It affects who is drawn to you and who stays away. It affects how people treat you, how they speak to you, what they assume about you before you even open your mouth. And most importantly, it affects how you feel when you look in the mirror. So today, I want to share something with you. I want to walk you through 5 habits, 5 simple daily habits that women with what I call an expensive royal aura tend to practice. These aren't complicated. They don't require wealth or beauty or a certain background. They require something much more valuable, intentionality. By the end of this video, you'll understand not just what these habits are, but why they work. You'll have clear, practical ways to start bringing them into your own life. And more than that, you'll start to see yourself differently. Because once you understand the quiet power of these habits, you can never unsee it. Let's begin. Habiti nemam biar one. She guards her energy like gold. Let's start with the foundation. Because without this, nothing else works. A woman with an expensive aura understands something that took me a long time to learn. Your energy is the most precious thing you own, not your time, not your money, your energy. Time can be managed, money can be earned. But energy is what allows you to show up fully, to love well, to create, to think clearly, to make good decisions, to feel alive. And here's the problem: most women give their energy away like it's endless, like it will just keep refilling on its own no matter how much they pour out. They give it to people who drain them, to arguments that don't matter, to situations that steal their peace and give nothing back, to worry about things they cannot control. And then they wonder why they feel empty, why they feel exhausted even when they've technically rested, why they snap at the people they love, why they can't seem to find joy in the small things anymore. It's because they've been running on empty for so long, they've forgotten what it feels like to be full. So let me ask you something. Who gets access to your energy right now? Not who deserves it, who actually has it. Is it the coworker who always complains but never listens when you need support? Is it the family member who criticizes everything you do? Is it the friend who only calls when she needs something? Is it the constant scroll through social media, watching other people's lives while yours passes by? Is it the voice in your own head that tells you you're not doing enough, not pretty enough, not young enough, not successful enough? A woman with a royal aura doesn't just guard her time. She guards her energy. She protects her inner peace like it's sacred, because it is. Let me give you an example. There's a woman I know, let's call her Amina. She's in her early 40s, a mother of 2, works full-time, has extended family that constantly needs something from her. For years, Amina said yes to everything, every request, every favor, every invitation. She thought being a good woman meant being available to everyone all the time. But slowly, something in her started to dim. She stopped laughing as much. She stopped dreaming. She was always tired, always irritated, always feeling like she was failing even though she was doing everything. One day, she looked in the mirror and barely recognized herself. That was her wake-up call. She started making changes, small ones at first. She stopped answering every phone call immediately. She started taking walks alone without guilt. She began saying no to events that drained her, even if people got upset, and something interesting happened. At first, some people were confused. A few were even angry. But over time, a shift occurred. People started treating her differently, with more respect, more consideration, and she started treating herself differently too. She found her spark again, not because her circumstances changed, but because she changed what she allowed to touch her peace. That's the power of guarding your energy. So what can you do starting today? First, become aware. Just notice. For 1 week, pay attention to how you feel after every interaction, every activity, every conversation. Does it fill you up or drain you? You don't have to change anything yet. Just observe. Second, start small with boundaries. You don't have to make dramatic announcements. You can simply start responding a little slower to messages that aren't urgent. You can excuse yourself from conversations that feel toxic. You can leave a gathering early if you need to. Third, create a daily practice that refills you. Something that is just for you, not productive, not for anyone else, just for the restoration of your own spirit. Maybe it's 10 minutes of silence in the morning. Maybe it's a walk. Maybe it's prayer or journaling, or simply sitting with a cup of tea before the world wakes up. A queen doesn't pour from an empty cup. She knows that protecting her energy isn't selfish, it's necessary. And the beautiful thing is, when you're full, you actually have more to give to the people who truly matter. Abi Nembi, she speaks with intention, not impulse. Here's a truth that might be uncomfortable at first. Your words shape your world. Not just how others see you, how you see yourself, how you experience your own life. Every time you speak, you are creating something. You're either building up or tearing down, adding beauty or adding noise, opening doors or closing them. Women with an expensive aura understand this on a deep level. They are careful with their words, not because they're cold or distant, but because they understand the weight of what they say. Let me explain why this matters so much. Think about the women you admire, the ones who truly command respect in your life. Do they gossip constantly? Do they complain about every little thing? Do they speak badly about others the moment they leave the room? Probably not. There's something about a woman who speaks thoughtfully, who doesn't fill every silence with nervous chatter, who chooses her words like she's choosing what to wear with care, with purpose. When she speaks, people listen, not because she's loud, because she's intentional. And here's something else. The way you speak about yourself matters enormously. How often do you put yourself down, even in small ways? Oh, I'm so stupid. I look terrible today. I always mess things up. You might think these are just harmless comments, but they're not. They're programming. You're telling yourself and everyone around you what you believe about your own worth. A woman with a royal aura speaks about herself with dignity, even when she makes mistakes. Even when she's struggling, she might say, "That didn't go as I planned, but I'm learning." She might say, "I'm working on this." She might say, "I'm proud of how far I've come." She doesn't pretend to be perfect. She just refuses to be her own biggest critic. Let me share a story. There was a woman who attended one of my talks a few years ago. After the session, she came up to me with tears in her eyes. She told me she had just realized something. For her entire adult life, she had been speaking about herself the same way her mother had spoken about her when she was a child. Harshly, dismissively, as if nothing she did was ever quite good enough. She had internalized that voice so deeply, she didn't even recognize it as something separate from herself. She thought she was just being realistic. But that day, she decided to change. She started catching herself. Whenever she was about to criticize herself, she would pause, and then she would rephrase. Instead of, "I'm such a failure," she would say, "This was hard, but I showed up anyway." Instead of, "No one could ever love someone like me," she would say, "I am learning to love myself, and that's what matters most right now." It took time, but slowly, her whole demeanor changed. The way she walked, the way she held herself, the way people responded to her. Because when you change the way you speak, you change the way you think. And when you change the way you think, you change the way you live. So what can you practice? First, pause before you speak, especially in heated moments, especially when you're tempted to complain or criticize. Ask yourself, does this need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said right now? Second, eliminate self-deprecating language. No more calling yourself stupid, ugly, or worthless, even as a joke. Speak about yourself the way you would speak about someone you love deeply. Third, practice silence. This might be the most powerful one. A woman who is comfortable in silence is magnetic. She doesn't need to fill every moment with words. She can sit in her own presence peacefully, and that peace is felt by everyone around her. Remember, your words are not just sounds. They are seeds. Choose carefully what you plant, because you will live in the garden that grows from them. Hebiti Nembiar Teachre, she moves at her own pace. Now this one is so important. We live in a world of rush. Rush to get married, rush to have children, rush to build a career, rush to prove yourself, rush to look younger, rush to accomplish more before some imaginary deadline. And this constant rushing creates a kind of desperation, a sense that you're always behind, always catching up, never quite where you're supposed to be. But a woman with an expensive royal aura has rejected this lie. She moves at her own pace, not slower because she's lazy, not faster because she's anxious, but at her own rhythm, in alignment with her own truth. There's something deeply attractive about a woman who is not in a hurry. She doesn't rush into relationships because she's afraid of being alone. She doesn't rush to respond to every demand because she's afraid of disappointing people. She doesn't rush through her own life because she's afraid of what others might think. She trusts her timing. She trusts her path. She trusts that everything meant for her will come to her, and she doesn't have to run frantically to chase it down. Think about this for a moment. Why do we rush? Usually it's fear. Fear of missing out. Fear of being left behind. Fear of what people will say if we don't meet their expectations on their timeline. But when you really understand your worth, you stop operating from fear. You start operating from peace. You understand that your life is not a race. There is no finish line where someone is waiting to hand you a trophy. There is only this moment and how you choose to live it. Let me tell you about a woman named Grace. Grace got married at 23 because everyone around her was getting married. She didn't listen to the small voice inside her that said, wait. She was afraid of being the last single girl in her friend group. The marriage was difficult. It ended after 7 years. By the time she was 32, she felt like a failure. Everyone else seemed to have figured it out. Houses, children, happy family photos on social media, and there she was, divorced, starting over, feeling like she was running a race she had already lost. It took her a long time to realize the truth. There was no race. She had been competing in a game that didn't exist, measuring herself against a timeline that wasn't hers. So she stopped. She started doing things at her own pace. She traveled alone. She went back to school for a degree she had always wanted. She took her time getting to know herself before dating again. And when she did meet someone new, years later, she was a different woman. A woman who wasn't desperate. A woman who knew her worth. A woman who could say no to good options and wait for the right one. Her life didn't follow the traditional timeline, but it was hers. And that made it beautiful. Here's what you can do. First, stop comparing your timeline to anyone else's. Social media is a highlight reel, not reality. You don't know what people sacrificed for what they have. You don't know their struggles. You only know your own journey, so honor it. Second, practice patience as power. When you feel rushed, pause. Ask yourself, is this urgency real, or is it fear dressed up as productivity? Learn to recognize the difference. Third, trust that late is not the same as never. Many women find their greatest love, their greatest success, their greatest purpose after 40, after 50, even later. Your story is not over, and the best chapters might still be unwritten. A queen does not rush. She arrives when she is meant to arrive. And when she does, the room feels her presence. Habi nam bi'ar fior, she invests in her inner world. This habit is perhaps the most invisible, but it might be the most powerful. A woman with an expensive aura spends significant time on what cannot be seen. She invests in her mind, her spirit, her emotional health, her wisdom, her peace. While others are focused only on the external, the appearance, the achievements, the possessions, she is quietly building something much more lasting. An inner fortress. Here's why this matters. Life is unpredictable. Things will be taken from you. Jobs disappear. Money comes and goes. Beauty fades. Even relationships can end. But what you build inside yourself, that cannot be taken. The wisdom you gain through reading, through reflection, through learning from your mistakes, that stays with you. The peace you cultivate through spiritual practice, through healing, through forgiveness, that stays with you. The emotional intelligence you develop, the ability to understand yourself, to regulate your emotions, to respond rather than react, that stays with you. A woman with an expensive aura knows this. So she invests accordingly. She doesn't just work on looking good. She works on being good, on being wise, on being healed, on being whole. And there's something almost magical about a woman who has done this work. She has a stillness to her, a groundedness. Like no storm can really shake her because her roots go deep. She doesn't need external validation to feel worthy. She doesn't need a relationship to feel complete. She doesn't need constant praise to feel confident. She has done the inner work, and it shows in everything. Let me share another story. There was a woman who came through a devastating divorce. She was 50 years old. Her husband of 25 years had left for someone else. She felt like her life was over, like she had wasted her best years, like she had nothing left. But instead of drowning in bitterness, she made a decision. She would use this pain as a doorway. She started seeing a therapist. She started reading books about healing, about resilience, about identity. She joined a women's circle where she could share her story and hear others. She started meditating. She started journaling. She started asking herself questions she had been avoiding for decades. And slowly, something incredible happened. She started to discover herself. The real her. Not the wife, not the mother, not the role she had played for so long. Her. By the time she was 55, she was a completely different woman. Not different on the outside, different on the inside. And because of that, everything on the outside changed too. People remarked on how radiant she looked, how peaceful, how magnetic. She hadn't found a new relationship. She hadn't gotten richer. She hadn't become famous. She had just done the inner work, and it transformed everything. What can you do to start investing in your inner world? First, commit to learning. Read books that challenge your thinking. Listen to podcasts that expand your perspective. Never stop being a student of life. A wise woman is always growing. Second, prioritize healing. If there are wounds you've been carrying, old hurts, old patterns, old beliefs that limit you, address them. Seek help if you need it. Therapy, coaching, spiritual guidance, whatever resonates with you. Healing is not weakness. It's one of the bravest things you can do. Third, develop a spiritual practice, whatever that means for you. Prayer. Meditation. Something that connects you to something larger than yourself. Something that reminds you of your true essence beyond the chaos of daily life. A woman who is rich on the inside cannot help but glow on the outside. Her aura is not a performance, it's an overflow. Habitin na MBR Phoebe, she honors her standards without apology. And finally, we come to this. A woman with an expensive, royal aura has standards. Clear, unapologetic standards. Not arrogance, not entitlement. Standards. She knows what she will accept and what she won't. She knows how she expects to be treated. And she doesn't negotiate on these things for anyone. This is different from having a list of requirements for a partner, although that might be part of it. This is about knowing your worth so deeply that you simply cannot tolerate anything that contradicts it. When a woman has high standards for herself and her life, it creates a natural filter. Certain people cannot stay close to her, not because she pushes them away, but because her presence makes clear what is welcome and what isn't. Low effort people feel uncomfortable around her. They drift away naturally because they know they cannot meet her there. And high value people are drawn to her because they recognize a kindred spirit, someone who takes herself seriously, someone who respects herself, someone worth respecting in return. But here's the challenge. Many women struggle with this. They've been taught that having standards makes them difficult, high maintenance, picky, that they should be grateful for any attention they receive, that asking for more is greedy or unrealistic. But that's not true. Having standards doesn't mean being harsh or cold. It means knowing that you deserve quality in relationships, in friendships, in how you spend your time, in how you're spoken to. And it means being willing to walk away from anything that consistently falls short. This requires courage, real courage. Because sometimes honoring your standards means being alone for a while. It means disappointing people. It means letting go of relationships that aren't serving you, even if you care about the person. But a queen knows that temporary loneliness is better than long-term disrespect. She knows that walking away from the wrong thing makes room for the right thing. Let me tell you about a woman I'll call Nadia. Nadia was in her late 30s when she realized something painful. Every major relationship in her life had followed the same pattern. She would give and give and give. She would accept behavior that hurt her because she didn't want to be too demanding. She would stay long past when she should have left because she was afraid of being alone. And each time she ended up hurt, depleted, wondering why love always seemed to cost her so much. Then she decided to try something different. She wrote down her non-negotiables. Not a fantasy list of the perfect man, but genuine standards. Things like, someone who speaks to me with respect, even in disagreements. Someone who keeps their word, someone who shows up consistently, not just when it's convenient. Someone who adds peace to my life, not chaos. She committed to these standards, and she started applying them not just to romantic relationships, but to everything. Friendships, work situations, family dynamics. It was hard at first. She had to end a long friendship with someone who constantly put her down under the guise of joking. She had to have a difficult conversation with a family member about boundaries. She had to walk away from a man who seemed promising, but kept canceling plans at the last minute. But over time, her life changed. The people around her were different, healthier, more respectful, more aligned with who she wanted to be. And eventually, she met someone who matched her standards without her having to beg for it, who treated her like a queen because she had already been treating herself like one. Here's what you can start doing today. First, get clear on your non-negotiables. Write them down. Not 100 things, just the core ones. The things that are not up for discussion. The things you will no longer tolerate, no matter how lonely or inconvenient it might be. Second, start living by them. This is the hard part. It's not enough to know your standards. You have to act on them. Every time you accept less than what you deserve, you're teaching people how to treat you. And you're telling yourself that you don't really believe in your own worth. Third, remember that standards are not about perfection, they're about patterns. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has bad days. But if someone consistently treats you poorly, that's not a mistake. That's a choice. And you're allowed to choose differently for yourself. A woman who honors her standards isn't cold, she's clear. She isn't difficult, she's discerning. And that clarity, that discernment, is part of what makes her aura so powerful. When you walk into a room knowing that you will not accept disrespect, something shifts. People sense it. They might not be able to name it, but they feel it. And that, my dear, is the essence of a royal aura. Now, before we close, I want to speak directly to something that might be holding you back. Maybe you grew up being told that you were too much, too sensitive, too demanding, too emotional, too intense, or maybe you were told you were not enough, not pretty enough, not smart enough, not successful enough, not lovable enough. These messages get inside us. They become part of the lens through which we see ourselves. And they often stop us from stepping into our true power. So here's what I want you to consider. What if those voices were wrong? What if the very things you were criticized for are actually your strengths? Your sensitivity, that's emotional intelligence. It's the ability to feel deeply, to connect authentically, to notice what others miss. Your high standards, that's self-respect. It's the refusal to settle for a life that doesn't honor your worth. Your intensity, that's passion. It's the fire that drives you to care deeply about things that matter. You were not too much. You were simply around people who didn't have the capacity to receive all that you are. And you were never not enough. You just believe people who couldn't see your value. A woman with an expensive aura doesn't dim her light to make others comfortable. She shines, and she trusts that the right people will not be blinded by it. They will be drawn to it. So if you've been shrinking yourself, if you've been apologizing for who you are, if you've been hustling to prove your worth to people who should have just seen it, I want you to give yourself permission to stop. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to have needs. You are allowed to be selective about who gets close to you. You are allowed to rest without earning it. You are allowed to be loved without performing for it. These are not privileges for a certain type of woman. These are birthright truths that belong to you. Believe them, live by them, and watch how your life begins to change. So let's take a moment to remember what we've covered. 5 habits. 5 simple but profound practices that women with an expensive, royal aura live by. 1, she guards her energy like gold, because she knows that her peace is the foundation of everything else. She doesn't give herself away to things and people that drain her. She protects her inner light. 2, she speaks with intention, not impulse. Her words are chosen carefully. She doesn't gossip. She doesn't tear herself down. She speaks life into herself and into others. 3, she moves at her own pace. She has rejected the lie that she's behind. She trusts her timing. She walks through life with patience and grace, not frantic desperation. 4, she invests in her inner world. She knows that what she builds inside herself is what will last. She is committed to growth, to healing, to wisdom. And that inner richness shows in everything she does. 5, she honors her standards without apology. She knows what she deserves and she doesn't negotiate on it. She is clear, and that clarity creates a natural boundary that protects her from those who would waste her time. These habits are not about being perfect. They are about being intentional. They are about remembering every single day that you are worthy of a beautiful life. And here's the most important thing I want you to take away from this time we've spent together. Your aura is not fixed. It's not something you're born with and stuck with forever. It's something you cultivate day by day, choice by choice, habit by habit. It doesn't matter where you are right now. It doesn't matter what you've been through. It doesn't matter how far you feel from the woman you want to become. You can start today with one small shift. Maybe you guard your energy a little